Hey everybody, it's kayflye. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're doing a speed build of an Earthship, and I was super inspired to build one of these after I came across one of those little stories in my Snapchat Explore page about this family of homesteaders, and then that just led me down this huge rabbit hole in Google just looking at different homesteads, and then I came across these Earthships, which to my understanding seem to be these super eco-friendly homes, usually made out of sustainable materials. So I thought that'd be super fun to build today, especially on the Cordelia's secret cottage lot. Um, this lot is so secluded from the rest of the area and it's isolated by itself up in the hill, so it's felt like the perfect place for some Sims who are trying to get away from everybody and live off the grid and live off the land. I felt like that just kind of meshed with the rest of the cottage living items, and I really wanted to build a lot of those because I've been having so much fun using cottage living lately for builds. I also wanted to challenge myself by using some more terrain tools than I usually do. So you'll see me kind of playing around with the terrain a bit. I really wanted this house to look like it was partway into the earth, and that's a little challenging because the terrain tools won't go completely next to the house unless they're just something I have not realized about the terrain tools. In that case, if you could enlighten me, I would very much appreciate it. But I just kind of usually cover up the gap between the walls and the terrain with rocks and grasses and flowers, and of course I use the classic little Simsy method for covering up weird things you don't like, which is just to get a bunch of beautiful trees and kind of stick them over the awkward parts of the build. So this house is pretty small. It is technically a tiny home. It's tiered to it's the largest tier, so it's a small home. So your Sims will be able to reap some benefits by living here, in addition to just kind of having fun with the off-the-grid gameplay. And the indoor space is pretty small, but there's also this big outdoor patio that has a dining space and also an additional cooking space. I use a lot of eco lifestyle for this build. I also use a lot of cottage living, as well as a few other packs. But this was a super fun build. It was definitely something that I've never built before, pretty far outside of my comfort zone. And honestly, I had a ton of fun with it. It's a really great time. And here you can see I'm trying to put some spandrels around, but I was very unsuccessful with this because they have to be around a room. They can't just be between two pillars per se. But eventually I did find a workaround with a debugged object, so we'll see that a little later on in the video. Just required some very careful placing of objects. So for the walls, I kind of played around a little bit. Like, did I want them to be the cottage living walls? Did I want them to be stones? And I eventually decided on mostly this large stonework because I saw some pictures of that online, and then also some stucco for the walls as well. There were a lot of Earthships that kind of had really bumpy walls that looked like they'd be something out of the Batu pack, or like that Bumpalicious wallpaper we have in the base game, but it didn't really come in the right colors, and I also don't own Batu, so I decided not to use that and instead kind of go for the more stone, earthy type of vibe instead of the recycled vibe. Here I'm just starting to add some greenery to the side of the house to look like this place is really in the hillside and just completely covered in plants. But I used a variety of packs with this just to get a really good variety in the types of greenery. And then here I'm starting to place some rocks. I fast forwarded through most of it because there was a lot of just patiently resizing and rotating rocks, just to put outside of the greenhouse just to kind of hide the way that roof connects with the ground. And also I just thought it looked really nice, especially once I put the gravel terrain paint underneath. to give it a little bit more depth. Thought it just looked very nice and very rustic. It's definitely the vibe for this whole build. And you can see me starting to play around with how I want the rest of the lot to look. But I decided that I did not like the extra concrete, and I just deleted it all. Here I'm starting to figure out the floor plan. I originally had those beautiful big glass sliding doors from Eco Lifestyle, and then I realized that it was going to kind of limit how I was able to divide up the very limited space for the floor plan, which was challenging enough as it is. You can see me struggling quite a bit here with where to put the bathroom, where I wanted the master bedroom to be. But eventually I figured it out. I did want to have a full bathroom with a sink, toilet, and shower inside the house. So that was definitely a little bit of a challenge, but I figured it out, and I ended up using the university shower because your Sims will just walk through it. I felt like that fit the vibe of an off-the-grid house more so than the shower from Snowy Escape, although your Sims can also walk through that one. So if you're playing on this lot and you've decided not to use it as an off-the-grid lot, that could be a really great option for you. Then here for the kitchen, I ended up using the country kitchen set instead of the cottage living one just because I really love the sink from that set. I think it's so cute. I really love the little towel underneath, or not towel, like the little curtain. And then I actually used bar stools from the industrial loft kit, which you honestly, looking back on it, like, interesting. Like, you wouldn't think that these things go together, but I feel like it fits the whole kind of salvaged vibe of this house, of like maybe this is something that the Sims here built themselves, or they thrifted it, or they crafted it somehow. And I was really debating like what type of furniture I wanted to do for the little living space. And I ended up using the Snowy Escape couch and a chair from Eco Lifestyle, so I did want it to feel a little bit like it had been salvaged, but also I wanted it to feel nice and put together and homey, and not like it was just a bunch of junk sitting around. But here, there's two bar stools at the kitchen bench top, but there isn't a dining room table inside, so I put this picnic table outside as well as this really cute grill. So your Sims have another place to cook that's also off the grid. And then you can see I'm starting to furnish the bedrooms here. Then I needed to use Dream Home Decorator, not only just to get those teeny tiny little bedside tables, which I feel like are a really nice touch, but also to get one of these cute lofted bunk beds. I absolutely love this bunk bed. I think this one's my favorite. I really like the little fold down fabric piece on the end. Like, it's really cute. I was definitely, though, a bit stumped on what to put on the desk, because usually I'll put a computer or a laptop or something, even for a kid's room, and this house is off the grid. So none of the computers or laptops will work, and I would rather depend on the solar panels to light all those little tiny lights that I put in, rather than use it just so my Sims can play Blick Block on their computer. But if you disagree with that, you can just add a computer in here yourself, no problem, and it should work even if you're off the grid because there are solar panels. See, I'm starting to try to put at least a few little skill building items in, and it was really tricky just because the space was pretty limited. Here's another item I used from the industrial loft kit, because I felt like it fit the whole kind of crafty atmosphere of this house. The other thing I wanted to make sure I did with this build is I wanted to have bureaus in both of the bedrooms. It's because I wanted it to feel realistic. And, of course I could just have a bureau in one bedroom or just have a mirror somewhere and all the Sims would be able to change their clothes and it would be fine. But I wanted it to feel like it was like an actual, like, real house that you could see yourself living, see your Sims living in. That's why I put the bureaus in both the bedrooms instead of, say, using the desk in the parents' room. Or not the desk, using the space in the parents' room to put a desk or some type of other skill building object. I'm just kind of going into doing the wallpaper, doing the furnishings. I want to bring some more of that stone from the outside back inside to the house, kind of use it as an accent wall for some of the rooms. And I thought I wanted to do a cool wallpaper, and then I just decided to go with kind of some simple wallpapers just because I felt like that kind of fit the Earthship vibe a bit more than having a bunch of wallpapers that were completely crazy. Although I did put this cute little tree one on the kids' wall. I thought that was really sweet. I was thinking as I was building this of what I could work on next, and definitely would love to hear you guys' input on that. One of the ideas I had was inspired by some other YouTube rabbit holes I've been going down recently about apartments in New York City. And as someone who's from New York City, I'm always really curious about how other people are living it up, especially since rent is so expensive. But I found these videos on these micro studio apartments, and some of them are pretty much just a bedroom, like they don't have a kitchen, you share a bathroom with somebody else. It seems very unideal, but some people are into that. And I started thinking, like, what if I took one of the apartments from San Myshuno and I tried to divide it up into as many micro studios as possible? And like, you could have certain criteria with these things, right? So you could have like, okay, you can have no more than 3 apartments, share 1 bathroom, and you have to have at least 1 apartment with a fully functional kitchen, and every apartment needs to have a sink and a fridge and a microwave. And I feel like that could be a very interesting challenge, especially if you want to make some of them like these super cute mini functional spaces and use a lot of like Dream Home Decorator and have these lofted beds. Or you can make some others that are like really stinky apartments where you use like the debug bed from Eco Lifestyle and like the really cheap furniture and have them just have like a microwave haphazardly on a table somewhere. I feel like that could be some really fun gameplay, especially with the roommates feature in The Sims 4. It's a little bit glitchy, but you could have like your little tiny apartment, and then maybe you're like a landlord and you're renting out the other apartments in your little space for some supplementary income. And then you could just kind of go from there. So if that sounds like it'd be a cool challenge and you'd like to do it, or you'd like to see me do that, please let me know in the comments down below. I think it definitely could be pretty fun, as well as a little bit challenging, especially if you have to make all the apartments have a window, since some of the San Myshuno apartments are shaped a little bit funny and you can't move the windows around or add new ones. So it definitely could get pretty tricky if you wanted to make them all like adhere to proper fire codes. Not necessarily that happens in New York City, but maybe it'd be good to be a nice person. But yeah, here I'm just starting to put some more clutter around, putting some rugs around, make this feel a little bit more livable. And yeah, this build is pretty much done. I know there's still a good amount of time in the video, just kind of adding clutter, as well as doing some landscaping to make this place really feel like it's a homestead and it's off the grid. But one of the other challenges I was thinking of trying was something that's not necessarily a build challenge, it was more of a gameplay challenge. Sure, you've all heard of the Too Many Toddlers scenario that was recently released, and possibly you've heard of the 7 Toddler Challenge, where you try to have one sim raise 7 toddlers. And I was thinking, what if, the Too Many Toddler Challenge is just 3 toddlers, and, that's just 3, that's fine. What if you try the Too Many Toddler Challenge with 7 toddlers in one sim? But there's a catch. You have to play on the deserted island lot in the island lot in Sulani, and you're not allowed to leave. So basically, you'd be stuck with whatever forageables were on the island, whatever fish you could catch, whatever things you could find in the sand, and you also have to somehow raise 7 toddlers. If that sounds like something that you'd like to see and the type of suffering that you'd like to see me endure, definitely let me know in the comments down below. I think it sounds like it could be a very stressful video, but I also feel like it would be a lot of fun. So definitely let me know if that's something you think I should do, or if that's something that you'd like to try, and if that's inspired you to try something new. I feel like these new scenarios are just a little bit too easy. Maybe they're good for people who are more like casual Sims players, but for someone who plays a lot of Sims, they're definitely a little bit lackluster. As this build is wrapping up, I'm just trying to place objects underneath the little greenhouse roof, and it was super hard to work with this entire video. So if you end up building something similar to this, where you have the little roof piece as a greenhouse, that space is fully functional. Your sim can get in there, but the roof just kind of makes things very weird when you try to do a 3/4 wall view, which was something I struggled with for the entirety of this video. I definitely recommend just setting up the roof where you want it and then taking it off, doing everything underneath, and just putting it on at the very end. So I definitely would have saved myself a lot of time and energy if I had just done that to start out with instead of trying to work around it the whole time. So here I'm trying to place these size down solar panels on the roof to generate some power for the house. And even with baby.move objects turned on, these were really finicky to place, and I had to have the overhang be a little bit larger than I would have liked just to get them all in. And I also had some wind turbines that decided to place themselves not quite where I wanted them, so I put those on the roof. And I was just looking through other objects to figure out, is there anything that I'm missing? And then this is what I was talking about earlier with the spandrels. I took this object out of debug, actually took the whole roof off the house, placed all of these beam pieces, and then I put the roof back on, and then it kind of looks like there's spandrels underneath, which I thought it looked super nice. See here, I'm just fast forwarded through a bit, but I placed the cow barn, I placed a chicken shed, so that way your Sims can get food for themselves more easily. And I also placed this debug bike from Eco Lifestyle because this lot, the Cordelia Secret Cottage lot, is just so far away from everything else in Henford-On-Bagley that it takes your sim a while to walk all the way down the hill, so I figured putting a bike up there could be pretty nice, pretty useful, let you zip down the hill a little bit faster. And then I'm not sure if I mentioned this already in this video, but if you would like to download this house, this is posted to my Sims 4 gallery. Gallery ID is kayflye, and you can find this build along with many other builds I've made for the Sims 4. I have quite a few that use a lot of packs. I also have a few where I've used just a base game or just a base game and one or two, like one expansion pack and then like one stuff pack, so that way more people can download them and use them to their full capacity. Yeah, I had a lot of fun making this. It was definitely very different than what I usually make. I really just like making more traditional houses. I also really like making modern houses, but this is definitely a very different type of modern house than the typical kind of like angled walls and like the glass stair railing from Get Together. But this was tons of fun, and I'm so glad I did it. And now, just as we're wrapping up this video, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. I will be uploading more speed builds, be uploading some gameplay videos in the next week. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye, everybody!